I want to hear your reasons why you believe that's the case. I just want to hear from, that's my, US perspective, and we always hear, yeah, US school systems are not that good. They're not good, especially compared to other developed nations. And Europe does it right. They do it better. They, change quicker. That's my thoughts, but I don't live in Europe or, anywhere else. I've only lived here. So I want to hear your thoughts about that. Hello and welcome back. Today I'm going to be watching and reacting to 10 things the UK does better than the US. And how can I not be interested in this? In the US, growing up in the US, and as everyone knows, Americans kind of grow up thinking and believing that US is the greatest country in the world. We do everything bigger and better, which of course through many videos and common sense, we know that's not true. One example and videos that I've been doing recently is about the NHS and the difference between the healthcare systems between the US and most developed nations in the world. That's one huge difference, and I know there's gonna be multiple in here. Perhaps the inventions, scientists, and all those magnificent brains from the UK over hundreds and hundreds of years. Perhaps how you do sports, certain things in sports. These are all guesses, but let's just jump into it and see what they have to say. And I'll give any flavor I can about me, being a US citizen, and I want to hear from the other side as well on these points. True, not true? Do you want to add on anything? What other things do you believe are better? So this will be a good one. Here we go.
It's impossible to say which country is the best in the world. However, a case can be made for some countries just being better than others, at least in specific fields. These are 10 things the United Kingdom just does better than the United States.
Here we go. Let's see. All right.
Many Americans often mock British people for still having a queen. They often say, "Get with the times. You're not free if you have a monarch. Your tax money is just being wasted." Well, the truth is that U.S. taxpayers have to pay more for their leaders. In 2014, the British royal family cost UK taxpayers just £35.7 million, while President Obama and his family cost U.S. taxpayers $1.4 billion in expenses that same year. So when it comes to cost-effective leadership, the Queen of England, ironically, is less expensive than the President of the United States.
So 35.7 million pounds, is that like what, $45 million roughly? 43 million? So somewhere along those lines. I wanted to, comparison. So massive difference regardless. And I am not surprised. We all know, once again, going back to the healthcare thing, US healthcare versus other, like the NHS, everything in the US seems so massively blown out of proportion with cost wise. Crazy how much things cost here. I am not surprised about, everything that the US president has to do, or just the world leaders compared to other, figures around the world. US is going to be the most. I feel like we don't even have to look that up for other countries either. That's incredible. It's an incredible cost for a country that loves or is so large in corporations and they have such a big say. It's incredible how inefficient and how much we spend money here. It's just a thought. And the Royals bring in so much money too. I mean, that's probably going to be paid for tenfold, maybe an exaggeration. I know many history buffs like myself go to the UK. The Royals, the effect they've had on building the country, going to Buckingham Palace and just seeing that. We went there almost every day. It was kind of like our center point of go to Buckingham Palace and then go to many places around there. Just kind of soaking it all in because the history is so rich there and so deeply rooted in, of course, the Royals. And a huge reason why myself and my family traveled there.
The studies are in, and the verdict is clear. Roundabouts are not only more efficient than US-style traffic intersections, they're also safer. Mythbusters even tested this theory, and they clearly demonstrated that roundabouts allow for 20% more cars to pass through in any period of time than what is possible in an intersection. Another advantage is that in a roundabout, drivers don't have to bring their vehicles to a complete stop. This has been shown to be safer for both drivers and pedestrians. So all in all, in this area, the UK has the US beat when it comes to traffic control.
Also agree on this one. Yes, traffic control, 20% is a huge number. That is massive. On top of that, add the what you're saving on gas. We stop, every 30 seconds here, or every minute, we're stopping at a light, stop at a light, stop at a light, and just kind of inch through the city. Very common here. Tons of traffic, tons of congestion. I love roundabouts, but also I kind of grew up a few times going to the UK and learning about roundabouts. We really don't have them here. Every once in a while you'll see one, but I love them. They make so much sense.
The average intelligence of each country in the world is something that has been rigorously studied over the past few decades. Well, the results are in, and quite embarrassingly, people in the UK are smarter than people in the United States. The average IQ of the United Kingdom stands at 100, while the United States falls short with an average IQ score of 98. This may not seem like a lot, but those two crucial points are enough to make the United States fall below the mean European IQ, which is 100. Many people argue about the cause of this, whether it be better schooling or higher standards of living, but the facts don't lie. When it comes to IQ, the UK is superior to the US.
I feel like education is generally more respected in developed nations. A lot more money goes into support. This is just my thought. It seems like the school systems are just better and they upgrade better. They get with the times quicker than the US, teaching relevant information to kind of help one in the future and just like the ways of teaching. It seems like a lot more money efficiently goes through the school systems there. They dump more money into it. That's used better than the US. Like we discussed in the first point. I want to hear your reasons why you believe that's the case. I just want to hear from, that's my US perspective, and we always hear, yeah, US school systems are not that good. They're not good, especially compared to other developed nations. And Europe does it right. They do it better. They, change quicker. That's my thoughts, but I don't live in Europe or, anywhere else. I've only lived here. So I want to hear your thoughts about that. Thank you.
Now that you know the differences in average IQ between the US and the United Kingdom, it probably doesn't come as a surprise when you learn that the UK actually contributes more to science than the United States, at least on a per capita basis, which is the metric that divides the number of scientific papers published by a country's scientists and divides that number by the country's population. This results in a number that gives you a good idea of how scientifically productive a country is on average. Well, in this category, the United Kingdom has the United States outclassed. The UK publishes 1.424 scientific papers for every 1,000 citizens, while the United States only produces 0.988 scientific papers per every 1,000 citizens. This gap in contributions in the world scientific community is a point of pride for people living in the United Kingdom, and this is certainly an area where the United States should try to catch up.
Not surprised, not surprised.
You
We're so heavily invested in business. I think it was even like patents too for business. US isn't first. I think China is way ahead of probably anyone in new patents and new things coming on the market, I guess. That's how you would say it.
The United Kingdom possesses the most productive offshore wind farm in the entire world. This world-class installation is the Greater Gabbard Wind Farm, which produces over 1.75 terawatt hours of clean and renewable energy every year. The United States,
great.
and indeed the rest of the world, has nothing that can compete with this installation. In fact, the United States doesn't even have a position in the top 25 most productive offshore wind farms, while the United Kingdom holds the top first, second, and third spots, with Denmark being its closest competitor. The UK's superiority doesn't just end there, however. The United Kingdom is the largest exporter of offshore generated wind power, which means that not only is the UK producing the most offshore wind energy, it's also creating enough to supply other countries.
That is great. Just whenever you have an excess of anything, especially if it's clean and renewable, it's great that you could share with your neighbors, or I guess sell to your neighbors. That's a great thing.
Just as with wind power and scientific papers, the United Kingdom is better when it comes to producing authors and great works of literature. The UK tops the charts of publications per capita, with only China and the United States beating out the country in absolute terms, despite the UK's much smaller populations. Overall, the UK produces 2,875 titles each year for every 1 million inhabitants of the country, while the United States only produces 956 titles for every 1 million inhabitants.
Big difference.
This is an even more impressive feat when you learn that the UK has only 1/5 the population of the United States. So when it comes to books, the US is still quite a few chapters behind the UK.
Yeah, very believable.
While it is true that Hollywood is the film capital of the world, and as a result produces more films per year, this doesn't compare to one of the UK's greatest film achievements. The most successful film franchise of all time is a British film franchise.
Oh, yeah.
The James Bond series. The James
Love 'em
Bond
all.
series was the first to gross over $1 billion in sales, and is still the highest grossing film franchise. It seems that people still prefer the cool, suave charisma of Agent 007 to the loud action and violence of most American films.
A few months back, I did have a YouTube poll that everyone could vote on of who your favorite James Bond was played by. That was a good one. I should just throw that in here. I think mine was, I like Sean Connery, I think the most, and then Roger Moore. Sean Connery first for myself, and then Roger Moore. I mean, they're both kind of, whenever I see a Roger Moore film or James Bond, I think, yes, that's James Bond. That's, what I want. And then I see Sean Connery. I'm like, how can I not choose Sean Connery? So you could always post your favorite James Bond and why that is in the comments as well. I would love to join in that. Love that franchise.
If you're a fan of watching YouTube videos, this is probably the most important category where the UK is better than the US. Despite having invented the internet, the UK has the US outclassed when it comes to average internet speeds. As of 2015, the average connection speed in the UK was 13 megabits per second, while the US only had an average of 12.6 megabits per second.
Yeah.
So the next time you're in an argument with a British person on the internet, remember that they probably have you outclassed in internet connection speed.
That's true.
Of the 118 known elements on the periodic table, 24 were discovered by British scientists. This is more than any other country, and further reinforces the case of British superiority in the sciences over the United States. This number includes crucial elements such as hydrogen, sodium, xenon, and platinum. The US, however, wasn't totally outclassed by the UK, as the country did discover 21 elements on the periodic table, and as a result, earns a very respectable second place.
Still think of how the populace of the UK and US 5 times more than the UK, they said previously. So that is per capita way better than the US. Can't deny that.
This is probably the greatest sign of the UK's importance and massive impact on the shape and history of the globe. As a legacy of the once great British Empire, countless flags around the globe still bear the Union Jack. From Australia to New Zealand and even Fiji, over 20 major flags around the world contain the Union Jack in one form or another. Perhaps the most interesting and most humorous is that the number includes the U.S. state of Hawaii, which prominently and proudly displays the Union Jack. The very first flag of the young United States, the Grand Union flag, even contained the Union Jack as well. While countries such as Liberia and Malaysia have similar flags to the U.S. flag, these are poor facsimiles at best, and are vastly outnumbered by countries, states, and territories that still fly the Union Jack with pride. For more top lists just like this, be sure.
Yep, I agree with all of those. I don't think there's one that I just disagreed with. And unless you have something to say about it, it seems very true to me. But let me know your thoughts. Do you agree with this list? Do you list? What? But let me know what you think. Do you agree with this list? Are there certain things that you agree with more or disagree with? Want to add anything on? And who's your favorite James Bond? I want to know all of these. Expand freely. This is I love hearing all opinions, even if you think I might not like it. I like understanding everything and just having a good discussion. I love that. I learned so much from the comments and I really appreciate them. So thank you, and let me know. We'll get into discussions in the comments, and yeah, until next video, have a good, fun, lovely rest of your day.